What's up, guys? Zach Casturos here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out another one of my videos. And I want to let you know, I know I've talked about this a little bit in the last several episodes, but I am going to switch gears a little bit. In an effort to continue to do these, because I do enjoy doing them, I am going to split the content that I've shared on these videos into two different channels or two different ways of consumption. I'm going to keep this one that I've been putting these out on, and it's been called the Zach Casturos Show because frankly I didn't know what else to call it. I am going to change it, not that the name matters, but I really want these videos on this channel to be about things that spoke to me. And I've had that in my brain for a long time. For lots of different reasons I've started and stopped or whatever, but I am going to keep doing these videos, and I just want to share on this channel. Here's the things that I've read or learned or experience that spoke to me, because I have found that oftentimes something that speaks to me might speak to you, or something that speaks to you might speak to me. And I just think that's kind of a fun thing to do, and a fun way to share the things that I'm learning or the things that I'm experiencing in hopes that something that I've learned might help you as well. Most likely that's going to revolve around faith. It's going to revolve around family, relationships. It might have some health implications, maybe some business, but the other channel is really going to be where I focus mostly on money, investing, real estate, business, entrepreneurship, etc. That channel is live. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. It's called The Investor's Approach, and I won't bore you with all those details here, but it's really going to be about the investor's approach, taking the investor's approach to your money, to your investing, your business, whatever it might be, as it relates to that part of life. And the great thing is, I still think that what I'm sharing over there, the idea of this investor's approach, is applicable in all areas of life. So if you're interested in that, please click on the link in the description below. Check it out. Love to have you subscribe and follow along on that. And I just want to say this now. If you've come to these in the past and maybe you haven't listened to as many as I would have hoped you would, because it's all been all over the place in terms of content, then maybe this is a great way for you to figure out which one of those two lanes you'd really like to follow along with and pick which one it is. And hey, if you're interested in all this stuff, I would be honored to have you follow along on both. So with that being said, that's the plan, that's the vision, that's what I'm going to do. I am excited about it because I have felt a little bit of kind of friction on this channel, kind of bouncing back and forth. And so that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. That's not the theme or the purpose of this video, though. This video, again, speaking and sharing what spoke to me, is I do want to share something that spoke to me this week. And I was thinking about this, and I actually saw a YouTube video, and don't even remember exactly what the YouTube video was about, but one of the things it mentioned was this idea that our focus is like currency. And we have to be very disciplined. We have to be very thoughtful. We have to be very intentional about what we focus on, because just like time in the day, we only have so much focus available. And when I was listening to this and when I saw it, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I've been trying to figure out how to articulate some of the struggles and the challenges that I felt inside of my spirit or my soul or whatever these last couple of years, in terms of just all the craziness that's going on, and how do we sort of sift through it and figure out what to focus on and where our head should be and all those different things. And so I'm listening to this video the other day, and I thought, that just really resonates with me, because what I have found is that for me personally, as I digest information and consume things and listen to things and read things and learn things and do things, I find that I feel so often like there's no margin in my life. There's no white space. It's like, remember back in the day, you'd go to those news websites and there would just be crap like everywhere. There's banners and there's side ads and there's articles, and it's like you literally don't know where to look. There's just stuff everywhere. There's a book, as it kind of relates to that, by a guy named Robert Cialdini, and it's called Influence. And it's a great book, right? It explains what influences people. And one of the things that I read in that book that I'll never forget is this study where they were at some sort of a fair and they wanted to do this study where they had these two different tables. And I might get a little thing not totally correct about it, but the gist of the story and the study is correct. So one table had, I think it was 27 different kinds of jam on it. And the other table had 3 kinds of jam. And they wanted to see which table would outsell the other table. And what they found was that table that had 27 kinds of jam did horrible in sales. And this table that only had 3 jars of jam did amazing in sales. And the inference in that, as you can probably imagine, is that when we have too many choices, we usually pick none. And when we have just a few choices that seem pretty good, we will usually pick at least one. And that is what I talk about when I say like that website that's just all cluttered and there's stuff everywhere. It's like we don't know where to start. It overloads our brain. And so we just click back and we bounce, as they call it in Google Analytics. But when we go to that blog or that website and it's just got maybe a nice pretty picture at the top and then a single column, nicely laid out article with nice pretty text and maybe a picture or two somewhere in there, we can easily focus and follow along and actually get something out of it. And we don't bounce. At least for me, that's my experience. And I think, isn't it true that it's so often the same in life? When we allow our lives to get full of stuff, like that, it feels like that website where there's just stuff everywhere. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to start, and we just do nothing. Or we do something and feel like we never made any progress because there's all these other things to do. But when we can align our lives, going back to my last video and this idea of the Pareto principle, the 80-20, when we can align our lives and structure our lives in a way where there's not 9 million things to do or 9 trillion things to consume, but there's just a few. But the few that there are very important. They're the things that move the needle. All of a sudden, we start to feel that there's white space in our life, that it's manageable, that it's peaceful, enjoyable. I think of that single, I think of that single space or that single column on a white web page with a nice header picture. And I think that's peaceful. That's like enjoyable. That's soothing. And then I think about this chaotic website, and that's stressful. And that'll kill you eventually, right? Because of all that stress and inflammation in our life. And I think, man, that's pretty much that website, not the nice pretty one, but the other one is how my life has felt for a long time, if I'm really honest. And I know in my spirit, in my soul, that it's not good. And so part of trying to focus on the 80-20 is to convert, to do a website redesign and go from this cluttered, chaotic, insane website to this nice, clean, peaceful website. But here's what I've learned. And maybe this will resonate with you. What I've learned is to go from the clutter and the chaos to the clean, peaceful website requires me to sacrifice and to stop thinking about and worrying about and trying to consume the 900 different things that were on that one. And that's why when I'm watching this video about how focus is a currency, I've always thought in my brain, like I've heard that before, but for some reason this time it really hit me because I've thought about time that way. Like you can't make more time, right? You only got 24 hours in a day. But I've never really sort of married that with focus because you also only have so much focus, right? People think they multitask, but all the studies show that there is no such thing as multitasking. The only thing that exists is the ability to really quickly and rapidly switch from task to task to task. And people who think they're good at multitasking are very good at switching from task to task to task. But oftentimes the research has shown that the people who are multitasking are going a mile wide and an inch deep instead of an inch deep, an inch wide and a mile deep. And it's the people in many studies who go an inch wide and a mile deep that change the world, that impact their communities, that do great good for great amounts of people. And so I think in my life, and this is the challenge that I'm going through, and I'm just sharing it. This spoke to me. I'm sharing how it spoke to me, and I hope it speaks to you. And maybe we can work on the solution together, is that I have to figure out a way to say no, right? I've always said this, like as a business person, you get to the point where what you say no to is way more important than what you say yes to because there's so many things you could say yes to. And that's the same in life. Everything that is put in front of me, every social media feed, every news article, every YouTube video title and thumbnail, everything that I see is yelling at me, trying to get my focus. And the marketers who know how to write great headlines are really good at stealing our focus and our attention. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, there's literally thousands of things every day that are barking at me for my focus, but there's only so much focus I have to give. And just like trying to be as an investor, if you go check any of those videos out, I talk about this idea of being an allocator of capital. Our job as investors is to allocate capital well. It's to figure out the best place to allocate resource, to generate the highest return with the lowest level of relative risk. So in order to do that, we have to be very intentional about allocating the capital. And I think, just like I said, I think the investor's approach is applicable in all these areas of our life. But in this instance, I say yes. And just like I have to be a great allocator of capital to be a great investor, I also have to be a great allocator of focus and time to be a successful person. And I think that I've been really pretty good so far at allocating capital, not as good as I should at allocating my focus and my time. I let too many things grab my focus, my attention, and my time. And that was really convicting for me, because then I step back and I think, well, what should I be giving my focus to? What should I be giving my time to? And I think that goes back to my last video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And it's this idea of really sitting down and identifying what are the 20% of the things we do in our life that bring 80% of the results, and how do those things fit inside of, let's say, what I would call my 5 pillars, which is my faith, my relationships, my health, my work, and my money. I've got to be good at identifying what are those things in my life, and then how do I make sure that the focus that I'm giving up or that I'm investing is into those things and not all these other things. Because listen, like for me, I like being informed. I like learning. I'm infinitely curious. I always have been. But the very thing that, and this is true for you, it might not be curiosity for you, but it's something else. Oftentimes, the very thing that we are great at, or that we have a propensity for, or a desire to do, or a strength in, very often, most of the time, those are also our greatest weaknesses. Because where we can get prideful is also where we can fall. Pride comes before the fall. And for me, my curiosity, my ever learning, or my never ending longing to learn is also my greatest weakness, because it's the very thing that causes me to lose my focus, or to give my focus to things that don't deserve my focus. And just like capital and allocating it well, I have to learn, I have to get better at allocating that focus better. And so that's my challenge for myself after seeing that and listening and mulling over. I mean, I didn't record this right after. I waited like a week, and I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about it over and over and over again, is how do we, if this resonates with you, how do we get better at really truly being ridiculously intentional about our focus? And if you're a Christian, here's the kicker for me. How do I do that without taking away the space or the freedom, and that might not be the right word, but for the Lord to nudge me to do something that doesn't fit into my schedule or my focus chart or whatever we're going to call it? Because very oftentimes, as I've found in my life, maybe you have too, is the Lord will put something on my heart to do, or someone to talk to, or someone to spend time with that wouldn't naturally fit into what I've predetermined should be the things my focus goes to. And I think that's so often the crux of our walk as Christians, is the ability to like have a plan, but let God direct our steps. And so anyway, that's sort of an aside, but I think the main thing for me, and if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments section below. But I think probably the answer is just like I said earlier, if you're thinking about doing this website conversion from the chaotic, crazy one to this nice, clean, crisp, peaceful one, is just knowing there's certain things that you just have to cut off. There's certain things that you just have to say, this is probably important, but it's not high enough on the list for me to continue to divulge or invest my time and my energy in. And for people like me, that's going to be really difficult. But I do think that it's important. I think it's necessary. I think it's the only way. It's like I have literally hundreds of things on to-do lists, and it feels awful. I'm just being fully transparent. I get like hundreds of emails a day, and it's stressful. And I've learned over the years, because I'm a very organized, very analytical, articulate person, and I have tried every single software you can think of to try and organize projects and tasks and visions and ideas and all these things. And the solution simply is this, at least that I've learned. Just have less stuff that you're thinking about. Just have less stuff that you're trying to do, or find people that can do some of those things. Because just trying to reorganize that crazy, convoluted, messy, chaotic website doesn't solve the problem. The problem is there's just too much stuff, too much distraction on the website, and the solution is to clean it up, is to get rid of the stuff, the junk that doesn't matter, that doesn't work, that takes up 80% of the space and only brings in 20% of the results. It's just to honestly cut that stuff off. Let somebody else who that's part of their 20%, let them handle it, deal with it, and you just focus on yours. And so anyway, I'm going to work on it. It's for me, it's not easy, and it's probably not easy for you either. But I think the crazier our world gets, and the more access, the easier access we have to information, and just the world we live in, the more this matters, the more important this very principle becomes. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. I don't know if anything in there spoke to you, but I hope that it did, and I hope you like these kinds of videos. This is going to be the kind of thing that I share on this channel moving forward. I'm calling it Spoke to Me. I'm going to change that up. So anyway, I hope you liked it. I hope it was helpful. If I missed something, or if you have another perspective, or you want to share a thought or an idea or something that's worked for you, or some way you found to deal with some of these challenges, please leave it in the comments section below. I mean, I could use it. I'm sure other people who this resonates with could use it as well. So please do that. If you have a comment, some other comment, love to hear it. If you like this video, please smash the thumbs up button. And I'd love it if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because I don't know if it actually works in the algorithm anymore, but I think the more subscribers, the more people can hear it. And honestly, maybe if you don't want to subscribe, but you like it, share it. Share it with somebody that you think this will resonate with, and hopefully somebody that you think will help. And I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.